Hey YouTube, this is Jeff, aka 101 Bronson, back here again with another top 10. And we're doing Robert De Niro today. A lot of movies to cover for this one. Great actor. He's always delivered solid performances, great movies. He's done a lot of comedies over the last few decades, but he's still a great actor, and some of those comedies are enjoyable. And he's recently made a great, you know, return to form with movies like The Irishman and Joker and stuff like that. And yeah, he's still an all-round great actor, and we're gonna cover a few of his greatest movies, my personal favorite top 10, and as always I'd like to begin with a few honorable mentions, so let's go do that right now. The first honorable mention is the movie The Godfather Part 2, Hear Me Out. I recently did my top 10 Al Pacino list, which is the video I did before this top 10, the top 10 before this one. And The Godfather Part 2 is featured on there because I feel that's more of an Al Pacino movie than it is a De Niro. I mean, De Niro does great in this movie, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a Pacino movie than I would consider the De Niro movie. That's why it's not on the top 10. Other than that, fantastic movie, and I have nothing further to add. It's a great movie. Next honorable mention. Next up, we have the movie Mean Streets from 1973. I really have to revisit this one too. It's one of the only De Niro movies I actually don't own on Blu-ray. Basically, I don't have a physical copy of it. It was a great movie. It's the first team up between. It's the first team up of Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese as an actor-director duo, and it's a great movie. It's a gangster movie set in Little Italy, New York. Great movie, great cast. Harvey Keitel is also in it, and recommended. Mean Streets, 1973. Next movie is from 1990. This is Awakenings. Robert De Niro and Robin Williams, Penelope Ann Miller. It's a great movie in which Robert De Niro plays a man who has Parkinson's disease, a very advanced stadium of Parkinson's disease. He's pretty much catatonic and stuff, and Robin Williams plays a doctor who actually develops a sort of medicine that allows those people in those conditions to return, and reawaken and become quote unquote more alive again, for lack of a better term. And it's a beautifully acted movie by Robin Williams and Rob De Niro. It's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend this one for those that haven't checked it out. It's a really good drama, and I say check it out if you haven't. Awakenings. Next movie is Angel Heart. This is from, I believe, 1987, 1988. One of those two. And De Niro doesn't really play a big part in this one, which is why it probably fell out of the top 10, because he's more of a supporting actor in this movie. The main star is Mickey Rourke, who plays a detective, or private investigator rather, and he's hired to do this case, and De Niro hires him. But it's just, I don't want to give too much away, because it's really a movie that if you haven't seen it, you have to go into it fresh and without any spoilers. But yeah, De Niro's character, there's something not right with him, and you get that vibe right away. And it's a very good thriller mystery type of story, and I highly recommend it. Mickey Rourke plays a great part as well. He has great charisma in this movie, and he carries the movie beautifully, I think. Mickey Rourke back in the day, he actually really was a good actor too. So anyway, Angel Heart. Let's move on. Next one, Cape Fear. Yes, this should be a top 10 De Niro movie, but it's so hard to choose. It's really hard to choose. He's done a lot of great movies. Actually, I'm struggling a bit more with this top 10 than I did with my Pacino top 10, because De Niro, he has done way more movies than Pacino, because De Niro, give or take, he does about 3 movies a year, specifically in more recent years. So he has a lot more credits, to his name than Pacino has, and it's hard to choose from. If you have a list like this, which is De Niro, and if you have a list like, let's say that, which is Pacino, you know. But Cape Fear, again, this should have been a top 10 one. It's a great one, directed by Scorsese. Once again, it's from 1991, I want to say, in which De Niro plays Max Cady, who is who is released from prison, and he goes and torments his defense lawyer, who pretty much he feels didn't do right in defending him in the court. And I'm not gonna give too much away again because it's a really great movie. This remake by Scorsese, De Niro, he steals the show as Max Cady, and especially his voice. You know, counselor, come out, wherever you are. He has a very creepy, like, put on a southern accent, which was actually so creepy that it even creeped out Martin Scorsese. And De Niro would prank him and would call him at his house and talk to him in Max Cady's voice, and it would scare the bejesus out of Martin Scorsese, which is a great story, I thought. So anyway, yeah, Cape Fear, 1991. Check this one out; it's a great one. And the next honorable mention is The Untouchables from 1987. Again, De Niro plays more of a bit part in this one. He's not the main star, but he does play a great part. He plays Al Capone in this movie, and he's being hunted by the federal government and the special task force team called the Untouchables, led by Elliot Ness, played by Kevin Costner in this movie. And you also have Sean Connery and Andy Garcia in this movie. It's a great cast. It's directed by Brian De Palma. And yeah, nothing else to add to this movie. The Untouchables, 1987. It's a great one. It's a fantastic movie, really, to be honest. Check this one out if you haven't. Let's move on. Let's enter the official top 10. At number 10, we have the movie The King of Comedy from 1982, starring Robert De Niro and also Jerry Lewis. And it's about Rupert Pupkin, this aspiring comedian who wants to be desperately on the Jerry Langford show, and Jerry Langford is a character played by Jerry Lewis. And he sort of has some very disturbing issues. This guy Rupert Pupkin, and yeah, he basically kidnaps this talk show host, who is a great comedian in his own right in the movie. Rupert Pupkin idolizes this guy, so he kidnaps him and sort of forces his way on television. And other than that, I'm not gonna say much, but it's a great movie. Pretty heavily heavily inspired the Joker, I think, in some ways, in terms of how that movie was put together and stylistically. I believe even the director of Joker, the 2019 movie Joker, Todd Phillips, I believe he even admitted that he borrowed style and stuff, and he was influenced by Scorsese, King of Comedy, and Taxi Driver. Both of those movies were an influence. So if you like Joker, recommend this movie as well, and see where they borrowed it from. Or where they got inspired from. Anyway, it's a great movie. Check it out if you haven't. I think it's underrated too, so definitely give more praise for this movie. It's a great one. At number 9, I gotta explain this, of course, because you see now a different appearance, different hairstyle, different everything, different lighting. I actually originally had the movie 1900 at number 9. However, after I completed shooting that video, that part of the video, and just the entire video together, I watched this movie, which has taken over number 9. And so that's why I just had to go back and edit this part in. So at number 9, the real number 9 is A Bronx Tale. Not taking anything away from my original number 9, the movie 1900, which is a great one. But like I said, I watched Bronx Tale after, and it's just a great movie. This one directed by and starring Robert De Niro. De Niro actually directed this one. It's his directorial debut, and he does a great job directing. Certainly, a lot of you can definitely see that he has been watching Martin Scorsese carefully, because it feels a lot like a Scorsese movie, but with De Niro's own touch. And it stars Robert De Niro, like I said, Chaz Palminteri, and Lilo Brancanto. I believe that's the way you pronounce it. The kid actor in the movie. And it's a great story about Golajoro. Hope I pronounced that right. Who's the little kid? He's called C. He's growing up in this Bronx area around these mobsters, and he idolizes one of the mobsters called Sonny, played by Chaz Palminteri, and his dad, a bus driver named Lorenzo. He doesn't approve of his son dealing and socializing with these mobsters. And it's a great story, some great life lessons in this movie. Very authentic mob movie in the way some of the things are portrayed. I just cannot recommend this one enough. So at my number 9, it's going to be The Bronx Tale, because it's a great movie and I highly recommend checking it out to people who haven't. And yeah, now the older me, or the what is it, the earlier me with the long hair is going to take you through number 8 through number 1. So at number 8 we have Midnight Run from 1987. This is sort of De Niro's first venture into comedy. This is like an action comedy movie directed by Martin Brest, who did Scent of a Woman with Pacino. He also previously did to this movie Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. Great movie, great director. Midnight Run is another great movie by him. And De Niro plays a great role in this as Jack Walsh, a sort of like Skip Tracer. He finds people and brings them in, for bounty, and for a bounty, for reward. And now he has to find Charles Grodin's character and bring him back, but hilarity ensues. You also have John Ashton in this movie. Yaphet Kotto, who recently passed away. May he rest in peace indeed. I was shocked when I heard that. Great actor, always love seeing Yaphet Kotto. And music again. I believe the music is by Harold Falk. No, it wasn't. I actually forget who did the music for this movie, but it's a nice jazzy score. I enjoyed it. Jack Walsh, played by De Niro. Some great lines of dialogue in this movie, and I recommend this highly. It's definitely a top 10 De Niro movie for me. And yeah, again, like with most of these movies, if you guys haven't seen it, I truly recommend this one, Midnight Run. At number 7, we have a movie that missed out on being in the top 10 Pacino films, but here it is. It's Heat, 1995. Yeah, I feel De Niro gives actually a stronger performance in Heat than Pacino does, which is why I decided to put it on De Niro's top 10 instead of Pacino's top 10. That's why The Irishman was on Pacino's top 10. Um, because I felt vice versa about the performance, for that one. But Heat, 1995, directed by Michael Mann, a crime drama. Yeah, we all know the coffee shop scene. I did that scene. I sort of tried to replicate that scene with the Pacino top 10. I did an impersonation of that scene. Uh, Great bank heist. The shootout after the bank heist is fantastic. One of the best action scenes in history of cinema, I think, personally. Yeah, it's just an all-round great movie. I think most people will have seen this one. But again, for those that missed out on it, haven't seen it yet, truly a recommendation, this one. Heat from 1995. At number 6, we have 1977's Deer Hunter, which, stars Robert De Niro, John Cassell, Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep, and a few others that I forgot some of the actors in this movie, but man, what a movie! Directed by Michael Cimino, and I believe it's only Michael Cimino's second movie. This one, I believe he only did Thunderbolt and Lightfoot with Clint Eastwood and Jeff Bridges prior to this one. I could be wrong. He could have done a movie between, but I believe it's his second movie, and what a movie it is! The Deer Hunter, and it's about it's a Vietnam War movie, sort of, but it's also a movie about friendship and the effects of war and what people go through, and and also for people around, men, and of course also women that have been to war and stuff like that. But it's a fantastic movie. It deals with the horrors of war, and yeah, great movie. Really can't say anything else. The music is fantastic. Every time we get to the end credits when I watch this movie, it gets me emotionally, and it's a very well made movie. slightly long for some people, I think, but definitely worth it. For me, I can, again, it's like The Irishman. I watch it always in one sitting. I think it's about a few minutes shy of 3 hours. This one, but it's like I said, it's worth every minute, every second of it. So, The Deer Hunter, 1977, one of the best movies ever made, I think. Definitely check this one out. The Russian roulette scene is famous. Everybody knows that scene, I think. Yeah, one shot. Christopher Walken in this movie is great. He won the Oscar for this movie, deservedly so. I think De Niro should have won one as well, but yeah, let's move on. At number 5, we have Taxi Driver 1976. You talking to me? You talking to me? Yeah, we all know that. One of the most famous lines in cinema history, I think. Probably without doubt. Um, Starring Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle. Uh, Similar a bit to with connections to the previous movie actually, because in this movie, Taxi Driver, he plays Travis Bickle, who returns from the Vietnam War. In the previous movie, it dealt with the Vietnam War as well, but yeah, a very disturbing character, has some issues for sure. Becomes a taxi driver, can't sleep nights, stuff like that. And then there's this 12-year-old prostitute played by Jodie Foster, and he feels like he has to do something and protect her and stuff like that. And he also wants to assassinate this candidate who's running for president or senator, I believe. Um, yeah, disturbing movie, but a very great movie. Again, directed by Scorsese, and this one also stars, like I said, Jodie Foster, and also Harvey Keitel is in the movie, Peter Boyle. Uh, Great cast, as per usual with the Scorsese movies. But yeah, recommend this one if you haven't, if just for the "you talking to me" scene, because it's a great one. Anyway, let's move on. At number 4, another Scorsese movie, Casino, from 1995. This one stars Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Sharon Stone, James Woods, Don Rickles. Kevin Pollak is in it. Great cast, and a great gangster movie taking place in the 70s in Las Vegas, where the mob was ruling with an iron hand back then. They owned the casinos and stuff like that, and this one deals with Sam Ace Rothstein, played by De Niro, who was sent out to Las Vegas to oversee the Tangiers Casino along with his best friend Nicky Santoro, played by Joe Pesci. He falls in love with Sharon Stone's character Ginger, and it's a sort of a rise and fall story. It all starts to fall apart towards the end. Ginger isn't really, Sharon Stone's character. She is not a faithful wife or a loving wife at all. And Joe Pesci is very self-destructive, and it leads to his character, his fate in the movie. I'm not gonna say too much, but I think I don't can ruin this movie for people, because I think most of the people that will watch this video will have seen this one. But it's a great movie, inspired by true events. And I love these mob movies that are based on real events, because I always love reading about the real life story afterwards when I finish the movie and doing the research on who the real guys were. I love doing that stuff. I love those aspects of history about the mafia and stuff like that. I just soaked that up, and from what I've heard, this movie, and from what I've also done the research of, this movie was fairly authentic in a way of representing the mob life in Vegas, and the vice scene that really happened. When they put a guy's head in the vice, they crank it. That really happened. So very authentic in that level, and I recommend this one. The scene between Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in the desert is probably one of my favorite scenes, if not the favorite scene of this movie, where he's like, "I'm what counts out here, not your fucking country club or your fucking TV shows. You fucking won't. Don't ever go over my fucking head again, you motherfucker, you." Nicky, I only want to go on TV because people can see me. I don't remember the exact scene there verbatim, but that's a great scene. I love that one where De Niro and Joe Pesci have a little argument in the desert. That's a fantastic scene. Anyway, let's move on. At number three, yet another Scorsese movie. Yeah, I think you guys know how it's gonna go from here. It's just gonna be Scorsese, but yeah, Goodfellas, 1990, starring Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, and Robert De Niro, Lorene Bracco. I hope I pronounced that right. She was also in The Sopranos. Paul Sorvino's in this movie. Scorsese's mom, she plays a adorable little cameo as Tommy's mother, Joe Pesci's mother. I love that scene where they go home after whacking Billy Bats and she shows the painting and they're having dinner at the house. I love that scene. One dog goes this way and one dog goes the other way. Yeah, one is going east, one is going south. So what? Or east and west. That's the line. And yeah, so quotable. This movie. Ray Liotta plays real life mobster Henry Hill, following his story. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. We all know that line. Funny how? How am I funny? That's one of the best scenes ever. And again, based on the true event that happened. Joe Pesci actually lived that moment. Joe Pesci, I believe he hung out with a few guys that were in that world, and you know, that scene actually happened on him, where it was like, how am I funny? You said I was funny. How the fuck am I funny? What am I, like a clown? I amuse you? That scene I can do verbatim, but it would take up too much time. But it's a great scene. Um, Nothing really much to add. Goodfellas probably would make my top 10 movies of all time, I think. It's definitely up there. It's a great movie. Great soundtrack. Scorsese always uses great soundtracks for his mob movies anyway, but yeah, Goodfellas. Never ran your fronts and always keep your mouth shut. De Niro's best line in that movie, I think. I also love the one where Henry Hill brings him silencers to match for his guns. And Henry Hill at that point, Ray Liotta, is doing a lot of drugs, and he says, "Oh, this don't fucking fit. Stop with those fucking drugs. They're turning your mind to mush." Yeah, great movie. Check it out. Let's move on. Number two, another Scorsese movie. Yeah, but this is my favorite Scorsese and De Niro team up. This is 1980s Raging Bull. Yes, I would take this over Goodfellas. I love the story of Jake LaMotta, played by De Niro in this movie. Again, this one stars Joe Pesci, and yeah, following the real life story of the boxer Jake LaMotta, spanning, a few decades. And De Niro, such commitment for this part, he gained about 60 pounds to play Jake LaMotta during his later years, where he was fat and everything. And he also trained very hard for the boxing scenes, and he actually entered, I heard this recently, he actually entered into a few professional boxing matches, and he actually won a fair few of them. So he could have been a great boxer, from what people have said. But that just shows the dedication of De Niro. He went really into this part. For me, performance-wise, if Scarface is like my Al Pacino ultimate performance, this probably would be mine. But it's not my favorite movie that De Niro did. There's one more, of course, but performance-wise, I feel that this is De Niro's Scarface, if you know what I mean. He plays his part so well. He's so into it. You forget he's Rob De Niro. He's Jake LaMotta in that movie. You forget about that he's an actor. It's very credible, very authentic the way he portrayed it. And it's shot in black and white, but don't let that disturb you one bit, because it's worth watching this movie again, even if you're not a fan of black and white. Which, by the way, I'm not that crazy on black and white films or black and white, but this one really great. I can watch this. Like I said, it's my number two De Niro movie. I love this movie to death. Nothing really else to add, actually. Let's move on again to number one. At number one, we have a movie that's not by Martin Scorsese. Yes, we're finally breaking the Scorsese streak. This is a movie by my favorite director of all time, Sergio Leone. This is Once Upon a Time in America. Yeah, this is my favorite De Niro movie. Um, and one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably my fifth favorite movie of all time. If I'm really thinking about it, I've thought about doing a top 10 of all time list, but after number five, I'm sort of struggling for a few movies, but top five is pretty much set. So I think this is my fifth favorite movie of all time for sure. Great cast: Robert De Niro, James Woods, Elizabeth McGovern, um, Jennifer Connelly, Burt Young, Joe Pesci, um, William Forsythe, Treat Williams. Yeah, it's a great cast. Directed by Sergio Leone, music by Ennio Morricone. Probably my all-time favorite Ennio Morricone score. I mean, it's very. I think it's tied with Once Upon a Time in the West. I think they're both actually his greatest scores. I don't think I could really say one is better than the other. But fantastic music, and he should have won an Oscar for it. But you know, the stupid studio back then, they forgot to give him credit, so they couldn't nominate him. And that's just one of the big mistakes that they made with this movie back then. They cut it, they butchered the movie, and probably led to Sergio Leone's death a few years later because he was very displeased on how everything went with this movie. In fact, if in terms of studio interference, the studio wanted no part of this movie. There's a long movie. Sergio Leone, Sergio Leone originally envisioned this to be like a 6 hour movie, and he wanted to release it in two parts, like Kill Bill, sort of like Kill Bill, split up the movie into two volumes, if you will. But the studio at that point had never been done, so they didn't want that. So they say, no, just cut it to 2 hours. Yeah, if you're gonna cut a 6 hour movie into a 2 hour movie, that's not gonna be good. It's not shot and acted and directed and scripted to be like this. It's meant to be like that, if you know what I mean. So they fucked up heavily with this movie back then. Fortunately, by now we can see pretty much the full vision of Leone, but it's still not all there. There's still footage lost. There's still stuff. I don't think we will ever see it, but we are now as close as we're gonna get to Sergio Leone's original vision, especially with the 2011 or when was it, when they restored 20 minutes of footage for the very most complete release, if you know what I mean, for the most completed release. That release is the one I've seen the most recent, and yeah, we're one step closer to seeing that. I don't think there will be more footage that they can find, but who knows? Who knows? We'll never know. Let's hope that they will one day be able to find more footage and add it, because this movie is a masterpiece, and I think we should see it the way Leone really wanted us to see it. So anyway, yeah, there you go. There's some great scenes in this movie. Highly recommend. It's my favorite Robert De Niro movie of all time. And that concludes my top 10 Robert De Niro movies. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know yours down in the comments, your favorite De Niro movies and performances. And I know I forgot to mention a few of his comedies, which I really enjoy. Movies like Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents, Analyze This. Um, even other movies from recent years like Stone. I thought that was a decent movie. What's the other one he did? God, what's the other one? With Drew Barrymore, it was like a sort of comedy, but also it had drama in it. Everybody's Fine. That's the one. That's another good one, I think. Um, Also love the score from 2002 with Edward Norton and Marlon Brando. Showtime with Eddie Murphy is a great movie. I like that one as well. So there's definitely a fair few I didn't even get the chance to mention. But anyway, maybe you guys have a few that I forgot to mention, so drop it down there. As always, hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you in the next one, guys. Keep punching, as I always say, and so long for now.